Greetings, this is James Gilliland with World Puja. We've got another great show. We've got Lindy Cowling, and she's very focused on heart consciousness. She's based in Wiltshire in the UK, and she's a qualified healer. She was trained by the Association of Natural Medicine in 2001. She also holds a diploma in hypnotherapy accredited by the Anglican Polytechnic University. Working as a medium and clairvoyant, she specializes in healing, past life regression, future lives progression. Lindy speaks clearly on the importance of bringing one's attention to the heart from the mind, what she sees occurring in the mass consciousness of humanity, and the negative and positive entities behind the scenes. I can go on and on about this, but I really want to get Lindy on the show because I know she's got a lot to offer. You can go to www.lindycowling.co.uk, and that's up on the site if you want to find out more or make an appointment. But anyway, Lindy, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Hello, James. Lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, good to talk across the pond here. You know, hopefully the technology will hold up. I don't think we have any coronal mass ejections hitting us today, so.
No, maybe not that, but we might have a few spooks on the agenda, so we'll just have to. Yeah. I'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, my phone lines are spook central, basically. So it's, I mean, I think, we have, a lot of times we have to tell all the agencies they need to share. You know, we say, come on, you guys need to share. We don't mind educating you, and you're free to listen in on all this stuff. But, come on, share, because.
Yeah.
You're tying up my lines, I can't get through anymore. But anyway, we love them too, and we're doing this all for them. So hopefully they'll figure this out in the long run.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just curious, being clairvoyant and really developed in your inner sensitivity, what do you see going on right now? It just seems like the world is going crazy.
The world is going crazy, because the third dimensional idea of physicality and reality that we have is effectively coming down round our ears. At the beginning of this year, when we hit 2012, who I lovingly call the guys upstairs, the guides, whatever, source, whatever you want to call them, they were coming through loud and clear to me to tell me that we were in the energy of what they called agitation. And how they showed me this visually is they showed me scooping up a handful of pebbles, a handful of stones, and throwing them at the human energy field as a way of breaking down all our perceptions of physical life, physicality, the third dimension. And they explained that it was an energy of agitation, and that we would feel that much extra pressure, that much more agitation. And they showed me rather like the instrument of an accordion, when someone's playing an accordion, where it's actually being squashed in, and we're being squashed in and condensed in to a very small space to shift through what would normally take years. We are now shifting through in a matter of weeks and months.
So it's like a time compression, or?
It's everything has speeded up. I mean, time is, as you know, time isn't linear anyway. But everything has speeded up, and the reason it's speeded up is because we haven't really got much longer left to get to where we need to get, so that we get up to the right vibration and ascend through with this planet. So we're being pushed through very, very quickly now, and there just isn't the time to process now. We're really being pushed as hard as we can possibly be pushed. And if there are any cracks in the plaster, if there are any cracks in relationships, if people are in the wrong job, if they're in the wrong town, the wrong country, the wrong city, they can't get away with it anymore. They know about it, and their life is changing literally overnight, mine included. None of us are being spared. we all have to go through this, and some. But it's good. I mean, it's positive. This is what we signed up for. This is what we came here for. These are amazing times. I know, a lot of people are frightened and everything, but these are fantastic times. This is the biggest opportunity we've ever had to raise up our vibration again, get back to where we were in the times of Lemuria and Atlantis, and take this planet through, to where she needs to go. So it's fantastic, really, but the pressure's on. Yeah, the pressure's on. Physically, the pressure's on. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah, we have a joke here. I always tell people, I always say, well, I'm glad I'm perfect and don't have any of those problems. And,
yeah, why is it that light workers and healers seem to have more than anybody else? I can't believe what's happened in my life in the last 12 months. It's unrecognizable. And my gosh, I mean, in every respect, amazingly good things, but also every single thing has come down around me. Everything. There's nothing left to strip away.
Yeah, that's happening quite a bit. I've noticed even in my life too. Is I'm really having to detach. Use it. Invoke that loving detachment from people, places, and things, and just go with this flow. And no, the old saying, one door closes, another one opens, or just to move with this flow, that something bigger is going to happen or is about to happen.
But that's the funny thing, because I'm an extremely spiritual person. I like to think that I've sort of, you're learning all the time. So I'm learning all the time, but I like to think that I know a fair bit about this stuff. And yet, I have to laugh at myself, because in some ways I'm the world's worst, because although I know it, there's something in me, in my ego that struggles and resists valiantly against some of this stuff. And there's a scene in one of the Harry Potter films where you've got Ron, Hermione, and Harry trapped in the roots of this thing, and if they don't calm down and just allow themselves to drop through calmly, they're going to be in serious trouble. So Hermione and Harry take notice and just drop through, and they're fine. But Ron, i.e. me, is thrashing about, struggling, so these roots get tighter and tighter, and in the end it becomes painfully obvious that if he does not listen and relax and just go with the flow, he's going to actually die, and Hermione has to wade in and save him. And I always laugh, because even though I know this, there's something in me that's so much like Ron, that is resisting, and not on a spiritual level, but we are trying to shift stuff here. Belief systems and generations of stuff through our energy fields like never before. I mean, we're not just clearing our stuff. We're clearing the family line stuff. We're clearing the whole genetics. In a way, I guess you would say, it's not over dramatic to say we're all clearing the entire humanity's history through our systems. And the more older soul you are, the more evolved you are, if you like, the more that's being thrown at you that way. And it's like we're templates. We're shifting this stuff through. So you just think you've cleared one lot and another lot comes. And there's definitely something in me that says, sometimes, and I, for one, I know, you've had, I don't know if you still have, but I know you've had physical problems with your back and things like that before. And I, for one, have got a long history of, ME and fibromyalgia, was this extremely painful muscular condition. And, I'd been more or less cured of that, but then I've been hit like a ton of bricks with that again. And that for me is resistance. I'm resisting clearing a lot of stuff. And when you actually cut through every single thing to do with the ego, every emotion, denial, resistance, all the rest of it, at the end of the day, underneath it all is fear. And no matter how well versed we are in this, all of us have sort of generations, histories full of stuff that has this fear-based program in there, and I could go further on this, which I will, and I say that fear-based program is there intentionally, that was put there deliberately, because obviously, we as humanity can't be controlled if we're not in a state of fear. So there's a lot of that stuff going on, so it's like I say, we're all being pushed very, very, very hard at this period of time, but it is just so exciting and phenomenal. And I'm just so positive about 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. These are fantastic times we're living in. And I wouldn't miss this for the world, despite the roller coaster. I wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, it is. The old saying, "Pioneers take the most arrows," and I know a lot of us are taking on some really big challenges because that's the way our spirits do things. I know in my
Yeah.
life I seem to be taking on the whole planet,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
powers that were. I call them the powers that were, and even the legal system as well, just the total
yeah,
corruption within the legal system.
yeah.
Just amazing what's coming forward, and then even watching people that were even close to me. I definitely won't mention any names, but people I thought that really had their act together
Yeah.
shift, right back into that wounded child and act that scenario out, and actually not be able to let go of it, no matter what you do, no matter how loving you are, or how logical, or how you try to address it, and how much you love that person and care for that person, how much you give to them, no matter what. It just doesn't matter, because it's their truth, and it's their process, and they're going to run their program. And
That's right. And these are very deeply entrenched programs, aren't they? I mean, and
yeah,
I would never, I have to say, even, 20 months ago, I would never, ever have been able to have this conversation with you, because I would not have known what I was talking about on this. But having lived the last 20 months, lived this blow by blow, and had a huge, huge spiritual awakening, 19 months ago. I'm kind of living this and learning like at a rate of knots all on this side
hmm,
of things. And like I said before, that this clearing is going on such a deep level, and let's be honest here, some people aren't going to clear it. They're not going to make it,
hmm,
but the majority of them will, the majority of them will. And I'm so much of this passion really in me, where I absolutely believe that we need approximately about 2/3 of this planet to get up to a certain level of vibration before the whole lot
hmm,
lifts to where we're going to be. And I have no hesitation in saying that we're well on the way to that, and that in fact does happen. That
yeah,
not that it's going to happen, that it does happen and has already
hmm,
happened in some respects. So
yeah,
that's not in question. But like I say, it's amazing, and just the people I know looking around me, and like myself included in that, to see the changes happening and so fast. I mean, what is it? The first, we're already now 5 months in. We're into May now, aren't we?
yeah.
And I cannot believe how quick this year is going. I mean, just so fast.
Oh, we're
And
definitely,
time,
yeah.
we sit there, look at the clock, and we just can't believe it. It's almost like watching the time turn round. Time is just speeding up, speeding up, speeding up, speeding up.
Hmm,
I think it's us, everything else that's speeding up, speeding up.
hmm,
Like, guys came in and said, everything's being condensed and squashed into this small space, and that's because they only have so long, and we only have so long to hit this critical mass, to get enough people raised up to this vibration to get through this. And they absolutely will not and cannot do that coming from the ego. It's
yeah.
impossible. They can't do it.
Oh, I agree. It's really interesting because the messages we've been getting, they've been talking. They said some people are just not going to make it. They said
No.
some people just can't make it. They don't have the wherewithal to do it on an inner
Yeah.
level, and they said, and then some people don't want to make it.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
just have to accept that, and do the
Yeah.
best we can, with the challenges we have.
Yeah.
And I think it is so important about the ego too. Is I see these people, they're on this quest, and they think it's a spiritual quest, and it's very self-righteous, and
Yeah.
and but there's no love. I mean, there's
No.
no love there.
Oh no.
There's
I mean,
no there's yeah, yeah,
it's
and
crazy, isn't it? Because the love is everything. I mean, that
yeah,
is it, isn't it? That is it.
yeah, there's no heart. I mean, where's the heart? There's no love there.
Oh,
And the only thing that is running the program is that wounded little victim in there. And
yeah.
it's happening everywhere. I am just getting flooded with emails with people, just crazy stuff, where they've fed people, housed people, taken care of them, done nothing but good deeds for these people, and then they have totally turned on them, and I mean, even the internet's getting flooded with it in the UFO community about some events that have gone down. I don't want to get into it with certain crop circle people that tried to help some other people out and end up getting sued, but it's just getting a little insane right now about how people are clinging
this was
so
destined
hard.
to be. They're clinging to what they're clinging on. It's absolute fear. I mean, there's this analogy, isn't there? If you corner a rat, it's when the rat's in the corner that it's at its most dangerous. And I mean, it's bringing out that real primal fear in people. And even if they can't put their finger on what that fear is, it's a really deep-seated terror really in there, and it will come out in all sorts of distorted ways. But there's going to be a bigger and bigger gap here, because as a certain proportion of the public and a certain proportion of this planet raises, the gap between those that are raising and the gap between those that are choosing by free will or just aren't able to raise is going to get bigger and bigger. And there is this kind of I'm totally the opposite to fear-mongering. I'm all about the heart and love, so I don't promote fear at all. But we are in this era of where, as part of that breakdown, if you like, the structure of certain elements of people do break down, But I always use the analogy of if you're in a house, you need all the walls of it to come down to realize that it's not a 90-degree view, but it's actually a 360-degree view you get. How else are you ever going to see and feel and experience the true being you are if you don't actually have the cage that you're in, that you didn't realize was a cage, dismantled around you? And that's part of the positive issue of this. All these systems are coming down because much of the negativity that has been running parts of this planet, as the vibration is raising, they can't actually exist in that vibration themselves. And as we are raising, we are actually seeing the so-called reality. What we thought was normal and okay, we're actually seeing through that now. It's not resonating. It feels negative. It doesn't feel right. And so you've got all this mixed into the equation, and there are going to be people that have fixed views on things and are very analytical, that just will not get their head around this and will just not understand it at all, and their whole idea of reality is going to shift, and that is enough to send people off balance. I prefer to use that term as really off balance, because it's knocking people off balance.
Well,
quite understandably.
They can definitely get their head around it. They just can't get their heart around it.
Exactly.
They can't get out of their head and drop down into the heart and just see how ridiculous the whole thing is.
Well, the thing is, because we've not, as a society, not even as a society, humanity has not been ever encouraged to live from the heart, because, and we all know why, because once you live from the heart, you actually do see and understand and feel the reality of everything. You do feel and know that you are one with Source, that Source is not outside you. You do feel the most amazing love that is so hard to put into words, but it's almost angelic. You are empowered. You do have, therefore, your mind is not in charge anymore, but it's in the passenger seat, and your heart is in the driving seat. Everything, the whole perception of everything changes. And of course, if we look to the more negative side, the more negative powers that be that have been influencing this, obviously they know that they lose control. The more people that get into their heart, very, very quickly, that control over those people is going to be lost. Once people can realize that they have this enormous amount of power and love and connection to Source within them, we know what structures would come down. Practically, to be honest, practically everything. So there's
we have to look at basically and it's funny, because I wrote about this in 1982, these events that were going to come forward through Ezekiel, one of the beings that I was bringing in, and wrote it in Becoming Gods and Reunion with Source, and they talked about these times, and they talked about the international banksters and how they came into power. And that eventually they would not be frequency specific, so their whole kingdom would collapse, because it's all based on separation and greed and a sense of entitlement,
Totally.
and trespassing on other people's creations, and so
Totally.
yeah. So you look at what's going down here, and you look at all the agencies and the agencies upon agencies that have been created to actually trespass on other people's creations or their work, and they all have they're just a representation of the powers that were, that have a sense of entitlement, like you owe me, and that they're special. So they're playing the separation game. And I just see with this unity consciousness coming forward, and this ninth wave that's coming through that the Mayans talk about, there's no way that these agencies, these mega corporations, all of these things, there's no way that they can sustain, through these times.
No, there isn't. I mean, and this illusion of separation, it is very, very swiftly coming to an end. Mm-hmm. And again, I can only use I only ever talk about stuff that I either know firsthand, I'm getting firsthand from the guys upstairs source, or I'm actually living and experiencing it. And I can say, from my own experience here that, I'd always had the notion that we connected, but I absolutely know this beyond a shadow of a doubt now. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. The separation again is encouraged, so that when people are separate, obviously they're isolated, they're weaker. I mean, if you have I don't like comparing us to sheep in the field, but if you have a herd of sheep and you pick one off, that's not going to be as strong as when it's with the group of them. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. Separation and fear has long since been promoted on this planet, because it's such a low vibration. It disempowers people, totally disempowers you. It makes you much more malleable, controllable. When you realize that we are actually all one, all connected in this consciousness, and you can go further still and say we're connected to the earth, everything on Mother Earth, and take it further and further, and how big and expanded and massive we are, and the amazing amount of good we can do with this. And, there's elements that the more negative elements, like, you get light and dark, that polarity anywhere, I'm not going to be entirely happy about that. But it's such, like I say, I always come full circle here, because for me, I can't emphasize enough, how excited I am about living in these times, because this has been building up, for so long, and now we have this fantastic opportunity, to sail through this and to actually come out this, and our children and our children's children, live in the kind of world that we've always wanted and thought was never possible, but in fact was possible all along. I mean, for me, everything that every single element of work that I do now is totally about the heart. And if you ask me to say in one line, one sentence, what would I think the most important sentence would say if this was the last 30 seconds of my life or something to get across, then I would say it is absolutely to live from the heart and from love, because love is everything. Love is the most powerful energy there is. Love is creation. Love is manifestation. Love is the lot. Love takes us through ascension. It is enlightenment. It's the whole works. And you cannot get there from living through your brain. You have to get back in touch with the original template, if you like, of how we're supposed to be living, which is in contact with who we truly are, the being that we truly are, which you have to do by getting back in touch with the higher vibration of the heart. The mind, the ego, is so much lower. You can't get there through that. It's not, the frequency is too low. It has to be from that purity and that love and that being in touch with what makes your heart sing and your soul sing. And it's the time of coming into alignment with that, isn't it? And your soul. I mean, there's always free will on this planet, but if we want to get to where we're going, anyone that wants to get to where they're going, it's the time to really listen to that gut feeling and intuition and, be brave and follow it.
Yeah.
Follow it like you never followed it before, because it's never been more important,
Well, I've seen, one of the traps that people get into is that spiritual ego, and they go into the self-righteous, I'm going to win, I'm going to beat these people, I'm going to get my power back and everything else, and everything is external.
Yeah.
And they get, they're in their mind, and they're just going down this downward spiral, and they want to take as many people as they can with them. They just have got to win at any expense, and they totally forget, as you were saying, the ultimate power is love. And when you're, there's even Paul in the Bible said that when you're walking in love, you're walking with God. When you're doing all these other shenanigans, you're hooked into something else, either an ego or some other unseen entities that are running a program. But
totally. And it's so easy, it's so easy to slip into that, isn't it? Because the ego has been in so strong in us, for such a long time, and it's been encouraged to be. But, there is nothing, and I say this, and I'll explain where I'm coming from in this and why I speak this way now in a moment, but there is nothing more powerful than that energy of love. And this is something that I absolutely know, that I'm living, that I can't even put into words how passionate I am about this, because I'm seeing it and living it firsthand, and I'm seeing and living the miracles that come with living that way firsthand. And I just know that is the key to everything, absolutely everything, is getting back into that purity and that love. It's so hard to explain to the ordinary guy on the street, because they just look at you as if you're mad. And if you say to them, what's your idea of love or perception of love, it's very much, it comes through their mind and the third dimension, and usually sort of like materialistic things. And it's really, really hard to explain to them, we're actually getting back in touch to what makes your heart sing and what makes you buzz and what moves you, and explaining how the heart and the soul are more or less one and the same, and they work together on this. And it's so hard to get that across, but it's easier to show it, And when myself and my colleague Oliver Paxton, we run, and we're doing a big one this weekend, a heart opening workshop, and when people can see this, when they can see love exuding from you, and you become much, much lighter, and you glow, and you look 25 years younger, which is fantastic and a great bonus. That's the ego. And, when they can see these things but feel it, it's so much easier than just trying to explain it. When you come from that purity and love is pouring from you, and you love everything and everything loves you, and everything looks really bright and sounds are really accentuated. I mean, it's just amazing, and fantastic things are happening, and you're talking in these workshops, and then the music will just switch off on cue on its own, and then it will come back on again. I mean, it's just like, it is like living in a Harry Potter film.
Yeah, that's what happens here at the sanctuary here, because we are living on a vortex.
Oh,
and
awesome.
The veils are very thin between worlds. And a good example here, I wanted to just give a couple examples, is one is whatever I need just manifests. It just pops up. It's just amazing. I was meditating, and I couldn't get through the soil to put these posts in the ground because it was really hard, rocky soil, and I was meditating, and I had one of the masters, it was Babaji, actually came to me, and he said, keep digging. And he said, just move on, keep digging. And I got kind of upset. I go, what are you talking about? I mean, this is like solid rocks. I mean, I can't get through this. I need something else, to do this. And he said, keep digging. So I go over to the next hole where it goes, and I hit the ground, and I hear this chink noise, and I go, what is that? And I dig it up, and it's this brand new digging bar, to bust the rocks out, was buried there. And we had all of these things happen, and just recently I was doing some repairs on the ranch and just making sure everything is up to date. And I have a thing about one of my my little necromonsters is electricity. I was electrocuted when I was a kid.
Oh no!
And then I've been electrocuted about 3 more times after that, which is crazy.
Oh no!
But I just have this issue around, like, I need an electrician. I'm not going to do this one. This is I'm not going to be playing around with this stuff. So
that's quite understandable.
Yeah. And so this guy just shows up, in the driveway, and he goes, I'm from Seattle, and he goes, I really want to come and check the place out, and I'm a licensed electrician. Can I help? And we were just dumbfounded. We turned around and looked at him and we went, oh my God. And he goes, yeah, I got a message that I was supposed to come up and bring my tools, So it's just hilarious how, and this is just, I could tell these stories forever.
Yeah, because the more they happen, and the more you delight in them, and the more that you're at that vibration, the more they keep coming, don't they? It's just one after another.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. It's magical. Yeah. And I think if you just delight in it, and we do delight in it, you sort of revert to I sort of become like a child with it, really, sort of giggling. But the more you're like that, your higher your vibration is, and the more it keeps coming. The flip side of that is, again, maybe I'm rather hard on myself, but I can only be, painfully honest here, is this, with this thing with creation and manifestation, is, for me, it's something I've known about for ages, but I have to be honest, I hadn't really sort of put it into practice. But as the frequency is raising on this planet and in all of us, everything is manifesting and creating, maybe 100 times quicker. So I notice if I think negatively about something, my God, I've got it within a few hours. And I thought, I was thinking that. Why did I think it? And I seem to be at the moment much better. Yeah. I'm going that way. So that if I'm so good at going that way, I've got to go the other way with it. It's just I'm manifesting chaos around me, left, right, and centre here. So I'm like a child that's just been given this magic wand, and I'm waving it about, and I haven't quite got the hang of going the other way. But I'm getting there. But it's trial and error. But it is extraordinary, and we just see it in action. And you'll voice it, and it's just there within a few hours. What used to maybe take months, and it's exciting, and it's getting this message across that we actually, without being paranoid, we have to be quite mindful about our energy and what we're thinking, and actually try and focus that positively on what we want and not what we don't want. And the thing is, that's sometimes harder, said than done, because obviously our subconscious mind, runs the show again through the mind there about 90% of the time. So before you've even monitored it, this thought is there, and it's formed. Yeah. Which is
like instant. Yeah, we are going into instant manifestation, and I've noticed that there's things going on. A lot of people are having mixed manifestations. Because everything is surfacing, and karma's coming forward to be cleaned up, and I also see too, and not to be a cop out, somebody was telling me that, well, if you're a Christ, you wouldn't have any problems down here, and I go, well, tell that to Jesus. What do he do? Wake up in the morning and say, hey, today's a good day to get crucified. I'll go down and pick up a cross and some nails and see what happens. I firmly believe he was aware of it. He knew that was his destiny. Yeah. But, we do have to realize that there are forces out there that would, as one master said, when the student said, I want to become a Christ, he said, you do? And he said, yes. And he says, they'll hate you. And he said, why? He goes, I don't understand. And he says, because you're going to mirror back to them everything they love and hate about themselves.
That is so totally true.
Yeah, and he says you'll become a great amplifier, and you're going to amplify everything within their being. And so, that is so resonant what you're saying there. That's fantastically resonant. Go on, you carry on, because honestly, we must be reading each other's minds here, because I was on my mind, or your guides are helping you here to talk to you about mirroring. But this is just so resonant for me, because I was just about to say that this thing with mirroring is, again, this is nothing I'd experienced until, maybe a year ago, but this mirroring thing is crazy now. Everything that you need to clear, or someone needs to clear, is being not just being mirrored back by another person, but by actual physical objects, and physical things around you are mirroring back
if something is breaking down in you, that is breaking down in the same way. And, it's extraordinary. And I have to say, for me, the massive awakening that I had, and again, it makes me laugh because, like I say, I was born into a spiritual family, and my nan was very well-known healer in the States and Canada and in the UK when she was alive, and my mother is a medium healer, and I was kind of brought up with all of that, but I'm working in it for like about 12 years, I guess, but and you kind of, you're always learning, and I always thought of myself as quite humble and things, but you get sort of a bit passé about it and think, oh, well, I kind of know this, I know that. And then I had this most massive spiritual awakening, which obviously was supposed to happen so that I was in position to do, the kind of stuff I'm doing now and going to go on to do. And that for me was the arrival of a twin flame. And I didn't even know what a twin flame was. I had no idea whatsoever. So that was the biggest shock, a beautiful shock, but also, a huge mirror, because a twin soul will bring up every single awful thing that you never thought you would ever want to revisit in this life, let alone in all the other lives, and let alone, you bringing that through for the generations of family and all the rest of it. So it's a huge mirror. It's a huge polarity. And that is a huge surge forward in growth. And that, for me, is what the heart thing, this blew the heart thing wide open for me. I could have read about this stuff till the cows come home, but it would never have meant very much. I would have thought, oh yeah, I know what unconditional love is. I care about people. My heart's open. Oh no, it wasn't. I didn't have a clue. Not till it actually was. Not till I was actually living it. And that's when I'm so passionate about this stuff now, because experiencing this, still going through this, nearly 2 years down the line now. I'm so aware of this with the heart and love, and that being everything, and that we are all one, and there is no separation. And this is why I'm so totally passionate about all this side of things. And like I say, mirroring. I mean, this is going to again add to people's confusion, because everything is being mirrored back to them. They don't realize that it's being mirrored back to clear stuff, to help them. It's just like, why is that person reacting like this towards me, and why are they making me feel this way? And it's all this, everything is so amplified, isn't it, and magnified.
Yeah, it's tough to catch the projections too. It's so amazing. There's a Native American story. I love that one about the rabbit and the hawk, and the rabbit comes out, and this hawk is sitting up on the top of the tree, with his back turned to the rabbit, basically. And the rabbit goes, oh no, there's a hawk, and the hawk doesn't see him, And then he goes, oh no, he starts screaming, the hawk's gonna get me, and the hawk still doesn't see the rabbit, And then the rabbit starts thrashing around, running around, going crazy, like, the hawk is here, the hawk's gonna get me, and this guy's going to eat me, this guy's going to do it. And it's just screaming. And finally the hawk turns around and sees the rabbit and flies down and eats him. And it's like that projection game. They just keep throwing it on you and throwing it on you and throwing it on you. And finally, if you finally react to it and say, hey, knock it off, stop. See, I told you, I told you you are a mean person, it's just unbelievable. That this act that's going on with some people, and you just go, and then you go, well, you don't think you had a hand in creating that? You don't think that you might have done a few things to move things in that direction? Oh, no, you're the evil one, it's like, it's amazing. You're the hawk.
I know, it's so funny. I mean, this to me, it makes me laugh, and it shows me, I mean, still, I still, like everyone, I'm evolving, I'm learning, I'm growing all the time. So, but it shows me in terms of my own growth, how far I've come, where I can laugh at that now. And because that, was so me even just a few months ago. And I would absolutely, even with my twin, not take responsibility. It was like, you made me feel like this,
Yeah.
And now it's like, it just makes me laugh. And I've just, just in a few months, it's like, your ego is still there, your personality is still there, but it softens somehow, and it's not in charge anymore. And you can actually, it's almost as if you can almost, in a way, displace or detach yourself from it and come from this other loving, higher, wiser perspective, and almost like laugh at your ego in amusement, like a parent would with a child, and just say, oh, you know, and it doesn't seem to, the ego doesn't seem to, when you start getting like this, it doesn't have the same power that it had before, and it's gentler, and it's very confusing, because when you first start going through that, you know, I can understand how people might think they were going a bit crazy, because it's like being two people, because it's like the ego's, you know, strong at that point, and this higher self and this wisdom and your heart is and your soul has come into play, and it's like this duality. But then there's this tipping point, and this is almost, it's like twins are mirrors. I mean, we are mirrors for humanity again. You get to this tipping point, this critical point, where you fully in realization that there is no separation, that the ego can soften, like that it's safe to let your heart and soul take the lead again, and then you start becoming empowered. And you know, so much of what, I mean, this is what, again, where I'm sitting here now, and I'm kind of becoming overwhelmed with the magic of it again, even though I'm living it, because even living this, personally living it, it's like a mirror for what is going on within humanity and within the bigger picture, you know, with this raising vibration, and that we're like, in a way, that twin flames are mirrors for humanity as well as for each other, as well as templates. And, you know, going into ascension and the fifth dimension and all this stuff, it all comes full circle, you know. No matter what anybody's talking about on this, if you cut it all down and boil it all down to nothing here, we are talking about, with the energy of love, we're talking about the heart, the soul, love. That is is everything. Is absolutely everything. That's what everything is. Everything else is just a distortion and an illusion, really, around that. You know, if we get back to that, we can easily navigate these stormy seas, if you like. You know, we don't have to go down in a tsunami here. We can navigate this easily, but it's just, you know, there's always free will. You know, we're on a planet of free will, and some people have a destiny not to navigate those waters. Some people don't want to navigate the waters. They want to stay on the beach, and so they can stay on the beach.
You know,
can't force them.
You know, I had a hornet teach me a lesson a long time ago. I'll never forget it. And I was up in Mount Shasta. And,
oh, wow.
And I had a tuna sandwich, you know, and I was just eating this tuna sandwich. And this hornet just wanted that tuna sandwich, you know. He was just saying, you know, and he just kept coming at me. And I was just sending him peace and love and saying, stop, you know, like chill out, you know. And I put a little piece over for him so he could go have that. And he just kept coming after me, you know, after my sandwich. And so finally he just like came right at me and was like in my face basically, and so I said enough, and I slapped him down, you know, on the ground, and there was a little bit of oil there because I was in a parking lot like right at the top of the mountain, and he ends up hitting the oil and getting in the oil, and he's just stinging the ground and angry and pissed off, and so finally he runs out of gas, you know, and he's done stinging, you know, and being pissed off, and he's just sitting there. And so I got a little stick and I picked him off and you know, like cleaned him off, you know, ran some water on him, cleaned him off, and then put him on a branch and went my way, you know. But you know, I kind of see that in a way that's what humanity's doing. It's like they're coming after, you know, they project their stuff out, and then they come after it over and over again, and eventually, you know, they get slapped down, and spirit slaps them down, or whatever, or the universe slaps them down, and they get angry and sting, and then finally when they give up and surrender and they're done, you know, the help comes, the healing comes, or the spirit comes. So that's so true. Yeah, so true. And just that's the nature of things, you know. That's just, you know, what people do. And you know, sometimes it's fear, isn't it, and resistance, and I, you know, and even experiencing it myself. Still, I have to say, I thought that I was always compassionate, but compassion in me has gone through the roof, and in the last 20 months again, and I have so much
not just compassion for myself, but so much compassion for humanity and for other people, because we do give ourselves quite a hard time, really. We don't cut ourselves much slack. And, like I say, when you feel and look at it from the heart and from this higher perspective, I don't mean it, because I'm not coming from the ego, and I include myself in this, but we are sometimes very much like children, and we need to be gentle with ourselves and have that compassion for ourselves, and realize that we are shifting the rate of knots. I mean, not just the clearing of the ego and stuff like that, but we are being absolutely bombarded with energies at the moment to shift us, in a positive way, to break down the energy field, to shift us onward. Obviously, like with anything, this polarity, the negative side of that is that we're being bombarded with the negative side of it that are also trying to disrupt us moving forward. So we're getting it coming from that angle. So, we are in a veritable melting pot here. But again, I'm so singing from the hymn sheet of positivity here, because I know it's all okay and it's all happening the way it's supposed to happen. But
I wanted to go into that a little bit about the powers that were, or the negativity that is doing all they can to suppress that. I don't want to put a lot of energy in there, but just to give people a little hope and to realize that one thing I love what one master said. He said, don't take credit or blame for everything, and that's what we do sometimes. And he said, just find that neutral position. But we are up against formidable opponents, if you want to use that word, or people that have chosen to hold a certain frequency here and enslave the masses through dependency or whatever. Or through fear and dependency. Those are formidable elements that are playing out, and then people who have weak minds can easily be taken over by those elements, especially the unseen elements can step in and become major disruptors. But on the empowering side, it's so important that we realize that if we all make our own personal God connection and know how to heal unseen negative influences, and continue on our own, awakening healing process, that eventually, most of this just kind of falls away.
Exactly. And I mean, like I say, you've said it perfectly, really. The more negative elements, that I would say, I'll use the term energy, human and otherwise, that are involved with this planet at the moment. Like I say, they have full awareness of what they are doing. They have full awareness of how to manipulate energy and time and to control mood and, all these kind of things, and weather and, we could go on all day. It's a subject under itself. So they have full awareness of all that. But the seesaw, if you like, the scales have tipped, because where we have had that, and we have gone through a period of time where for a while there that was fairly dominant. We have so much awareness now, not just for humanity, but so much help coming in. We have the angelic realms, we have the elemental realms, we have the, ET side of it, the extraterrestrial, the star beings coming in. We have all the other dimensions coming forward, stepping forward. Ascended masters, that's a new thing for me. I'd been working with guides and angelically for quite some time, but Ascended Masters, I'm now working with Ascended Masters myself, because they've come forward. Teams of extraterrestrials has been a very new thing for me, and mostly in the last 2 or 3 months of stepping forward. So we've got all these teams of people, beings, dimensions, all coming forward to try and help here. And it's fantastic, and I'm like I say, I'm very, very positive about that. And I have absolutely, I say it again, no illusions whatsoever that everything is going in the right direction. But we are in this period of change, and change, no matter how set up you are in life, however well versed you are in this, people get stuck in their ways. I mean, we are creatures of habits in human terms, and people get frightened of change, and often they don't like change. And this is huge change going on, not just one area of people's lives. These are whole lives turning upside down. But again, it's all meant to be, it's almost as if we have, the way I look at it and the way I get given it from upstairs and I feel about it is that we are all, players on the stage, really, in a drama that played through the ego, and suddenly we realize actually we don't have to play this part anymore, because that's actually not where my heart is. That's not what makes my heart sing. That's not what makes my soul sing. I'm getting off the stage now. Mm-hmm. And you step out of that and realize that actually when you actually step off the stage, you can walk out the theatre and there's a whole world out there that you didn't even know was there. Yeah. And there's a lot of people walking out of a lot of theatres, and then they're walking out thinking, where the hell am I? Where do I do now? Where do I go? And some of them will run back onto the stage because they'll think, well, at least I knew where I was, but there'll be a proportion of them that won't, that they'll come out, they'll stay out, and they'll think, right, I need to, it's a time of trust, trust what my heart and soul are saying and follow it. It's been deliberately sort of beaten out of us over generations to do that. We've been deliberately taught to go through the brain and the ego, and it's a complete reversal, isn't it? It's a complete reversal, and it doesn't happen overnight. But at the same time, I was going to say it's a gradual thing, but because this unique period of history we're in, because there isn't much time, we are being really pressurized to try and process all this, but it's just a time of really letting go of the sides, letting go of the sides of the riverbank and just saying, right, okay, I'm not going to drown. I'm just going to trust that I'm just going to float along here. There's no huge, great waterfall at the bottom. I'm just going to go and I'm just going to see where it takes me and trust. And that is just the easiest thing to do, really. That's the most, because by hook or by crook, we've got to go through this. We chose to go through it. So we can either splash about and thrash about and splutter in the water and, take half the riverbank with us, or we can just chill out and just flow down there smoothly, because we're going one way or another. So it's up to us if we want to go half drown or swim delicately and gracefully.
It does seem that what I've seen, basically, the energy coming in is just a great amplifier, and we're just getting bombarded by energies. The physicists will actually tell you this. It used to be about 50 hits a day. Now it's up to 500. And we are moving into a highly energized place in space, that there's a lot more available energy. The planetary alignment's coming up in May, with the major planetary alignments, and then a solar eclipse, and everything else on top of that. There's just no way the Earth can continue business as usual. I mean,
no, it can't.
Yeah, and those who are not frequency specific or are not matching the evolution of the Earth and her ascension process, what I see are going to have a choice. They can either take the downward spiral and just refuse to gain the wisdom from their experiences and just create harder and harder lessons until they're probably removed from this plane. Or they can just surrender and let go and shift into service and be a part of this awakening and healing process and take the upward spiral. And again, it's the energy isn't a judging energy. It just is, and it's just a great amplifier, and we're choosing how we're going to move through this process.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. I agree with every word you said there. And everything about, I'm glad you brought the word service in as well, because that is something, again, 20 months ago, that would have been totally alien to me, the concept of that. But now I have to say, with every total part of my being, that the reason I am, and my hair has just gone on end there because I'm coming straight from the heart and soul. My guides have just come forward, which is a huge sign for me, is that totally with every part of my being that I am here and my twin is here, and many more of us are here, and lots of people are here, millions are here that haven't got their twin here. It doesn't mean you have to have your twin here to do this, but it is all now about service and coming together as one without this separation, moving forward as this massive, wonderful, fantastic, loving consciousness we are, and the planet being included in that. And it's all about that. We come full circle again, and you can only come from that space again from coming from the heart, which means not living, through the mind and being caught up in, if I have a really expensive car and an expensive house and I have, 2 point whatever in the bank or whatever, it's coming from, it's reprioritizing. It's bigger than that. It's a whole different way of being, isn't it? It's not a simple thing. It's a whole different way of being, and a whole different way of living. It takes you back to this purity again. And there's only one word, again, we come back to, and that's love. It all has to come back to doing what you love, living what you love, not just doing what you love, living what you love, being true to yourself, true to oneself, being kind and realizing, that everything is a mirror, and what you're putting out there is coming back to you, realizing that we aren't just manifestors now. We are actually creators, and we can create the world that we want to create. So why would we want to create, a tornado in the middle of a picnic when we can sit there on a beautiful summer's day? We have the ability to create in this moment now the world that we want to live in, and we can only do that through the heart, and we can only do that through this vibration of love. That is the only vibration high enough to get us to where we need to go now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's funny because, you're talking about your hair standing up on end. All my electronics here in the room just are going crazy. They're reacting to something, some energy. Yeah. But it's kind of hilarious watching that. I'm shutting things off, like alarms are going off that were never set.
It's so funny
cell
because
phones are going crazy. So, everything was shut off, and now they're all kind of...
What happens is what's happened is I've switched here from speaking passionately to suddenly I've gone very, 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 very heart-centered, because it's something that moves me, and it's something that I talk about publicly. And when I talk this way, people actually will see that you're coming from the heart. And it, like I say, the flip side of that, knocks about 25 years off you, and you glow. You actually glow with this, and you will see it on camera. And my twin the same. And it's that because you're coming from that purity, you're coming from that love. You can't possibly be more genuine in what you're saying. You mean every part of it with your being. And when you click into that, I think what happens is the frequency and vibration raises, and then suddenly things change. And like I say, like you say there, electrics, start doing things. And, it's because and this is exactly the point I'm sort of trying to make, is when people come from their heart and their soul, once you've done it, it's like, it's so hard to put it in simple terms, but it's like learning to drive a car or riding a bike. Once you've done it and experienced it, it's such a fantastic, wonderful, beautiful, angelic feeling that you just want to live that feeling and live in that state 24/7. Now, I haven't managed to master living in that 24/7 yet, because I'm not at that stage yet. I can live in that state maybe half the time, which is getting more and more all the time. But physical life pulls me down. Pain, I'm in pain a lot of the time. Pain pulls me down. Physical things going on in my physical life pulls me down. But instead of pulling me down for a week or days, they maybe pull me down for an hour, and then I'm back in again, because it's becoming so normal for me now to live that way. And I guess really when you're completely, enlightened and living at 5-dimensional vibration all the time, then that is normality for you. You just constantly come from this space of the heart and the soul. And it is just so fantastic. I've experienced things and things with my twin as well. And I know you would believe this, because I know where you are with the vortex and where you are, that you you experience all kinds of things, and you've got, completely understand this merging of realities and things. But we've been into places where we've been in what I call a time slip, where we've sat there in a normal British pub, and that pub has then become 1930s Boston like cafe thing, which is one of the lives that we lived. And it has merged and temporarily become that, with the music, with the sounds, with the smells. And we've looked at each other and said, are you seeing this? Is this for real? And the other one will say, yeah, oh my God, this is like being on a fairground ride. We're living that, we're living these merging. And for us, we see this merge all the time, and we see our faces will merge and they will merge into lives that we lived before, and soul extensions that we have. And so, like I say, I come from a spiritual background, but I didn't even know or anything like that was possible, I have to say. I mean, I'd never heard of anything like that. But this is the fantastic kind of reality we're living in. And, just to come back full circle again as a mirror, I absolutely know that the purpose of my twin being around and me being around there for him is our mission. And I believe everybody has a mission, twin flame or no twin flame. All of us are here for a mission. And at this time, it all seems to overlap with service. One way or another. And ours is all about the heart and all about love and healing and raising vibration and frequency. But then look at us. I mean, look at people like yourself. We're all singing from the same hymn sheet here. Electrics are going again.
There goes the electronics again.
You realise, I think what they're doing is that's going off every time we're getting what we call a hit.
Yeah,
when they're saying, yeah, bring it on.
Also, yeah, too. I think it's a little reminder we're out of time, unfortunately. So we'll have to be signing off here. But it wasn't set for that. Actually, it's not set for anything, and I don't know why it's beeping.
Isn't it?
But it's hilarious.
Yeah, there's so many of us. There's so many of us now. We're all singing from the same hymn sheet. We're all trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
We realise we're all in this together, and we're just all trying to do the best we can.
The old saying, when two or more gather, and if you're both coming from the heart, you're going to do some crazy stuff, and even with electronics, But,
exactly.
But anyway, before we check out here, the best way for people to get a hold of you, I guess, is through your website.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yep, they can get hold of me there. Like I say, I'm based in Wiltshire in the UK, so it's one of the biggest paranormal counties in the United Kingdom, with crop circles and ley lines and
Great.
Stonehenge and Avebury and all sorts of things. So, so they can get hold of me there and, find out what I'm doing. And I do readings and stuff like that. So, and you never know, I might be over there to see you guys.
Oh, yeah, anytime you have an open invitation. I wish it was a 2-hour show, but unfortunately we're out of time.
No, that's been fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on. I've absolutely loved it.
Great. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on.